The drug testing that they are doing now before the 2024 Olympics has got all sorts of loopholes in it, and it is very easy for the athletes to use PEDs. They have in-competition tests and out-of-competition tests. And during the out-of-competition, they don't even test for about 80 stimulants and narcotics. So you can use all these drugs in training, but they only test for them at the competition. So right there's a loophole you can drive a Mack truck through. The other substances, they're not using designer steroids, they're using endogenous hormones, which is testosterone, growth hormone, insulin, EPO, and they're microdosing, and they're often times doing this at night. So when the collectors come in the morning, their levels are back down below the allowable limits, as they say. Many supplements that are widely available, ZMA, creatine, there's a lot of supplements that really help to accelerate healing and tissue repair. There are a lot of things that are legal performance-enhancing substances. The sensitivity of the equipment, they can detect at lower levels. So the testing is getting better. And I believe that if the athletes became of the opinion that the testing was effective, that they'd like to compete without using drugs. They really would. They'd like to know that they're the best athlete out there and they did it with all the hard work and it wasn't just about PEDs. But they're forced to do it because this is what it takes in order to be competitive. We know that in a 100-meter race, that the use of PEDs will make you 2 to 4 meters faster. You can't even get anywhere near the final of an Olympic 100-meter race without doing something. That's just the way it is. That's my opinion.
What's good, everybody? It's the GOAT, Aaron Brown. And before this video starts, be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's linked down below in the description. And also, become a member of my channel by hitting the join button. And also, hit the thanks button right above the comment section to show your appreciation for the videos that I make on my channel. Now, let's jump straight into it. I'm making this video because the Olympics are coming up. And the biggest doping doctor in track and field history, almost sports history, Victor Conte, has come out once again talking about how there are so many loopholes to get around doping and testing. And that also, something that was interesting that I didn't even know, that they have in testing competition and out of competition testing that I was knowledgeable about. But I did not know that the out of competition tests that they take, they don't test for a lot of things that they test for when it comes to in-competition testing. And that was a major loophole when it comes to testing. So there's a lot of stuff that you can take out of competition that if you take during the season or during competition, you will get banned for. But out of the season, you can take it and you're good. So they just create loopholes and different things to where athletes can dope and they can just get away with it. But they just have to do certain things at certain times. And that's just what it comes down to. So with the Olympics coming up, like Victor Conte said, if you want to be anywhere near a final, you're on something. And he knows because he's responsible for a few world records when it comes to track and field. He's responsible for getting people on teams. He's responsible for getting people in finals. And that's all because of his doping regimens that he got created when he was working at the Balco lab, which later got raided by the feds, and he ended up going to prison only for 4 months for trafficking dope, which is a pretty light sentence, but just goes to prove the fact that I always say, you have to dope as a professional track and field athlete if you want any form of success. And that's at the professional level. In college, you don't have to dope. High school, you don't have to dope. Elementary school, middle school, you don't have to dope because there's not too many people doping at those levels. But at the professional level, since there's so much money involved, when you involve money in sports, you involve corruption. And that involves corruption on the level of shoe companies, agents, coaches, and national athletic federations. All of these different entities have been responsible for supplying dope for athletes, covering up tests for athletes, or helping different athletes get off of doping troubles and those doping disciplinary sanctions when they have 100% been known to cheat, but they know that it's a big part of the sport and it's required, especially at the professional level. And if they're pushing a certain athlete, they're going to let them dope. And if they do test positive, more than likely it will get swept under the rug. And it happens all the time. It's been happening since the beginning of time.
I had met an Olympic official who had told me about some positive drug test cover-ups that he knew about that occurred at the 1988 Olympics. And at the 1992 trials, U.S. track and field trials in New Orleans, I was working with a shot putter named Greg Trifalis. And he was taking steroids, including Dianabol. So he got fourth. He didn't make the team. But he'd been on the previous 1988 Olympic team, and I went with him to Seoul, Korea. But a few days after the competition, I got a call from this Olympic official, and he said, "Your boy has tested positive." A few days after that, I get a second call from this Olympic official, and he says, "Tell your boy that he's off the hook." I said, "What do you mean he's off the hook?" And he said, "Well, the elder statesmen got together and decided that this was just not a good time for these positive drug tests to come out. Apparently there were 5 positive drug tests, including a high jumper, and my shot putter, Greg, was one of them. And he said, they've just decided it's not a good time and they're going to sweep him under the rug." I realized that basically from the top to the bottom, I mean the television networks, the International Olympic Committee, WADA, the testing agency, the athletes, they are all a part of this corruption. And I believe the athletes are the victims of this corruption. They're in a system and they get there and they realize that there's a rampant use of drugs and it develops a use or lose mentality. And if you know that your competitor's doing it 80% of the time, in my opinion, that enables you to make that decision to join that culture. But the athletes basically have no choice.